What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Dirt Castle for the next episode of Warhammer Quest, a game from my childhood, which I'm pleased to be your host in. It's my privilege to be your host, and it's rare that I get to play things from my childhood, and so this seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. So we need to pick your party after you go on the next quest. Let's go to market and we'll sell off some of our stuff. So there should be a junk. Yeah, there it is right there. So we can sell off all the junk stuff. You'll see here that we start with all the DLC weapons. We will not be playing with the DLC weapons. We've got things like the Slayer of Kings. We've got the Sunfang. These are all important weapons from the Warhammer universe, especially Gotrek's Axe, which was made from a meteor. Gotrek's Axe is seriously the most legit thing ever because it goes through anything. That's its power, is it cuts through any material essentially, and it ignores all enchantments. Like, it's basically the most badass weapon you could ever have. Like, he hacks off like a dragon's head with it. He has like, there's a Chaos Warrior that's leading like an army of like 10,000 men who's never been defeated in battle because his armor was made by a demon and it's enchanted so that nothing can hurt it. Gotrek surprises that guy by cutting straight through it like it's butter and takes him out. It's very, very cool. I'll talk about some of the other lore stuff as we go along. Right here, what you'll see is that every time you get back to the city, there will be a random assortment of items that you can take a look at and purchase and peruse. For right now, what we want to do is we want to sell that. The firebomb we're going to keep because it's actually pretty useful. We might end up falling back on that later on. The Hellheart we'll get rid of as well because we could use the extra money, and we'll get rid of the ruined book too. You can buy more gold through here. I've never had to grind in my playthroughs. I've always had the gold to buy the things that I want once I got further into the game. So I don't know if this is just a hangover from the iOS port where they're just allowing you the option to buy more gold if you want to. I've never had to, but then again, I haven't beaten the game either, so maybe if you get really far in, you need to. The prices right here seem like they're a lot, but when you get done with some of the quests, you'll get like 700, 800 gold, and so it takes probably 30 minutes to do like 2 quests and get enough money to buy like a Masterwork Knuckle Duster in my experience. So I don't know. I haven't gotten far enough into the back end to let you know if it's worth it to buy gold or if you would even want to, but I don't know why that option's there. We're going to buy this stone bread because it's a cheap way to heal our characters. The medium provision is probably a good call too because the lower boundary on the healing is very, very good in case you get yourself into a bad situation. However, I would rather buy the potion of healing, so we'll buy that real fast. Now then, we're going to go, and we need to go back. The different things that you want to look at right here, the Adventurer's Guild allows you just to look at your characters and equip them from this screen right here. The characters in no particular order. We've got the, well, I'll go left to right and then do the bottom row. So we've got the Marauder, we've got the Wayfarer, the Waywatcher, we've got the Ironbreaker, we've got the Grey Wizard, we have the Shadow Warrior, we have a Witch Hunter, we have a Troll Slayer, we have ourselves the Warrior Priest of Sigmar, we have ourselves, I think he's a Sun Priest or something like that, an Archmage, okay, and so he's a High Elf Archmage. He's actually kind of an interesting character. They all play very differently. Like, seriously, every single character has a different mechanic that they fall back on, and they're all kind of strange, and you can make some very weird party compositions in this game. The Bright Wizard, which is once again a DPS mage that focuses on nothing but obliteration. We've got the Ogre Iron Gut, which is essentially a really, really beefy Berserker warrior. Like, he's actually, if you swap him out for the Berserker, you're losing a ranged attack, but you're gaining a character who's much better in melee and who wields like a tree trunk as a weapon. He's pretty good. He's pretty good. I am probably going to swap a lot of this stuff out when we go on our next adventure. At the temple, you can pay money to pray for boons. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. It's a hangover from the board game, where if you pray for a boon, it'll put a buff on your character for the next adventure that you go on. It may be like an extra attack, it may be an extra 2 or 3 toughness, it might be an extra 5 health, it might be regeneration, you never know, but it's kind of expensive at this point, so I'm not going to do it. The training grounds are where you level people up. It costs a lot of money to level people up, so make sure you're saving your cash to level people up. I think it's like 200 for the first level, 500 for the second, 1,000 for the third, and then I don't think I've gotten anybody higher than level 4 or 5, but it gets pretty expensive, so you got to watch out for that. Hold on to your cash for level ups above all else, because a level up is much more valuable than gear in this game most of the time. Let's go adventuring. Quests are an adventurer's bread and butter. Okay, so we get random quests too. So what you'll see is that we have the Miserable Minstrel right here, which is our main quest, so it's lit up. But we also have another random quest over here that we could take for a random reward if indeed we wanted to. And so we can actually travel over here, and it tells you what you're going to be fighting. This one is Orks and Goblins. This one is Orks and Goblins as well. Is it only in Warhammer 40k that they have a K in Orc? I think it is. I looked at that kind of sideways, because in Games Workshop in the fantasy universe, I can't remember if it's with a K or a C, because I don't play fantasy that often, but I have read the books in fantasy. So let's do a bonus quest real fast. You'll see right here that there's actually achievements, and you unlock things as you go through. We'll go from Stirland, then we'll go to Reikland, then we'll go to Averland, and then you can travel between regions as well. So There's a lot of places on this map. Like, seriously, we can travel, like, really far on this map, and then you can go to this map and look around. Reichland is for, like, level 2 and 3 characters, though, so you can hang out wherever you want. The game is essentially, like, as long as you want it to be, basically. Let's do Rescue the Jester. Off we go. Let's see if we get an event. Sometimes this little line as it travels will catch fire, and you'll get an event in between. Alright, so instead of... I like the Marauder. I'm going to swap Cyranavel Mistwalker for Shannara because I find that the Shadow Warrior is a better character. The Shadow Warrior, if you don't know what a Shadow Warrior is, in Warhammer Fantasy, basically the elves had a civil war between them and the people that supported the, I think it's Slaanesh or something like that. Essentially, the elves tore themselves in half in a civil war with half of them going towards the gods of light and half of them going towards the gods of chaos or whatever. And so they split the elvish lands in half. The part that went to the evil elves, the Shadow Warrior, he guards the border right there to make sure nothing crosses over. So he hides in the forest and spends all of his time alone, essentially waiting for evil elves, chaos elves, dark elves, essentially, to walk through the border, and then he kills them if he can help it at all. A lot of these characters, I guess I'll give you a synopsis. So Berserker, kind of like him, but without range capacity, but he's better in melee. He's what Gotrek Gurnison was back in the day. He's a good character. I don't think you can go wrong with him. Sometimes I take the Ironbreaker and the Troll Slayer. In this playthrough, I'll probably take the Marauder because the Marauder gets a ranged attack, which is actually a really, really big deal. I like a lot of the characters, but some of them have very, very concrete and clear-cut weaknesses. So, for example, Falir, every turn he gets Winds of Magic, but every turn he swaps his alignment from damage to healing magic. And so you never know whether he's going to be DPSing or whether he's going to be healing. And so, essentially, he rolls the dice to see what his element will be, whether it's healing or damage, and then he rolls the dice to see how much MP he gets, and it just adds an extra layer of just, like, fault to his whole playthrough. Still, he's got some really good buffs. The Warrior Priest kind of sucks. I wouldn't recommend him. He's basically got prayers, and every turn he can pray, and based on whether he has good fortune from the gods, so you can have a strong buff from the gods or a weak buff from the gods, it's kind of like a dice roll thing. Sometimes he gives your party a buff that makes them way better, and sometimes he does nothing. And then he's kind of like a mediocre melee combatant on top of that. So honestly, if he's proccing and he's actually making his dice rolls, he's really good, but This guy, he's pretty much interchangeable with the Grey Grey Wizard because the Grey Wizard has a heal, this guy has an extra DPS spell, so it comes down to what you want. Wolfgang is actually really, really good, but he's bugged. The Witch Hunter is bugged right now. If you put him in your party, it'll crash your game. So I haven't got to play around with him. He's got good. I've looked at his stats at endgame, and he's actually quite good. He's got a ranged attack, he's got a melee attack, and he's got a fat bonus. Like, a lot of his abilities are really, really good versus the undead. And the undead are actually the most deadly thing in the game. Like, they're awful. The undead are incredibly, incredibly undeadly. The undead suck in this game. They will kick your ass inside out and then just, like, try and push it back in for you. It's bad. It's really, really bad. So this is probably the party we're going to play the game with. This is a very, very safe party right here. I normally play with these two no matter what. You can actually swap out. Let's play a little bit more risky. Let's go with the Troll Slayer. And we'll go with... I wish I knew if he was still bugged. Let me investigate real fast. We'll see if... Let me see if he's still bugged. We'll find out. I don't know if they've patched the game recently, but I'm going to make a break right here. We'll see if he's still bugged or not. Alright, so back into the game. Yeah, it's still bugged. You still can't play with the Witch Hunter, so unfortunately it crashed my game right after that happened. We'll head back out. We've got the Vestments of Shadow right here. What is that? Decreased chance to be hit with a melee weapon. +1 toughness for the Grey Wizard. Ooh! We actually got an item that's on point. So the items that you get as a reward for quests are completely and totally random. And sometimes you go like 5 quests in a row without getting anything for your party. And you'll actually be under-geared and under-equipped when you go like into the later game. If we can lock down some good gear right here in the front, I would prefer it. So let's go down here and we'll see if we can get the Vestments of Shadow. I'm going to take, what's his name, out of my party then. It's sad because I did want to play with the Witch Hunter. I like Witch Hunters a lot too. We'll go with Shannara though. Shannara is really, really good. I like Shannara. And so now the game should start. What'll happen is if you take the Witch Hunter, it actually won't start the level. It'll just sit there and load forever. And when it gets into the level, it won't have the little transfer zones that I showed you in the previous episode. It'll have like a blank spot and you'll be stuck in the first room. The warriors are combing a vast area of baleful moorland, looking for a hidden entrance to a lost dungeon, which, according to the scroll discovered by one of your number, hides a powerful weapon. Just when they're on the verge of giving up, a big owl of golden feather lands upon a large fallen stone pillar that must have been lying there for centuries. The owl looks at the group with saucer eyes and then hoots 13 times. The stone sinks into the ground and a mossy stare is revealed. The warriors descend into darkness. I don't know if I would be so trusting of that situation personally. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. So if you don't know what a Troll Slayer is, let's talk about the Troll Slayer, since Troll Slayers play a major point in the Warhammer universe. A Troll Slayer is essentially a dishonored dwarf. Maybe his family did something that brought them dishonor to their family, and his dishonor is so great that he has to go out and die in the most valorous, most amazing, most flamboyant, most ridiculous way possible in order to make up for it. So basically, he needs to find the biggest monster possible and die fighting it, to make like the most heroic legend possible to cancel out his family's dishonor. And that's what a Troll Slayer is. Now, the most famous of the Troll Slayers is Gotrek Gurnison in the Warhammer universe, who is a badass, largely due to the fact he's a good combatant, but frankly, he's got a pretty huge advantage. He's got an axe that like cuts through anything. So he doesn't know what its powers are when he sets out on his adventure, but they figure it out over the course of 8 to 50 books. I'm going to step slowly. I always wait before I transfer into zones because it's nice to have a full allocation of move points before you go in. We got ourselves 6 Snotlings. That's actually not so bad, although don't underestimate them. Snotlings can actually cause you a couple issues. Now, Shinnar's ability is that he can shoot and move in the same turn. Most characters, after they attack, are stuck in place. Shinnar is an exception. He can fire his bow, move, and then melee attack somebody, or he can melee attack somebody, move, and then shoot his bow. Actually, it might only work for his bow. I think it only works for his bow. So, for example, he could shoot right there, kill those guys. This guy can move into here. We could take a swing with him. He got death blow. He got another death blow, but he missed the third one. What we can do down here is I can bring him to there. I can move him up to here. We could take a hack at this character right here. There it is. We could take a swipe at that guy. There it is. Snotlings have very, very low weapon skill. If you're wondering why we're hitting so much, the Troll Slayer has 4 weapon skill, which is good for him. And then they have 1 weapon skill. So with these, we actually have a pretty good chance. Well, I mean, we got 60%. In a world of bad chances to hit, we have a little bit better of a chance than we normally would. Whereas they have less of a 50%. They have like a 35% chance to hit. It's pretty bad. I'm actually going to try and feed my Shadow Warrior as many kills as possible because he's... Oh my god, we got a great college hat! No. That's super awesome. Like back in the day, this was the item right here. So what Power Store does is it allows him to store up power. So let's say he gets a really, really good turn where he gets like 6 power. He can store it for later. And we can actually equip things in the middle of combat. This is a good-ass item right here. I'm excited. There we go. And it'll actually add it to the character too. If you look, he has a hat now. He didn't have a hat before. I love the games that like add armor to your characters like that. It's those little things that make me happy. And so he should be able to store this now. I don't know if it destroys the hat though. Is the hat reusable? Let me... Ooh, a lot of things in this game are a one-time use only. And so I don't want to lose the toughness if it's a one-time use item, because that would totally suck. Let's see here. Power Store, +3 to his max wounds. Let me Google it real fast. I'll look at the old game rules and we'll see if we can figure it out. Okay, it appears as though the Grey College Hat is multiple use. I think you can like use this ability like once per dungeon, and what it does is it makes him store whatever magic he has so that he can actually have... What it does, it becomes a potion, essentially. It becomes a mana potion there. That's the simplest way to put it. His hat will take on all of the mana that he has on this turn, and then on another turn, that means that he can draw from it twice to get a ton of mana and like heal twice in one turn or do a bunch of stuff. Later on, he'll get an ability called Blood Pulse, which is really, really good. It was an all-star move. Who did he take damage from? He took damage from somebody. Either way, Healing Mist. Get yourself patched up. Aw, man, he did 1 wound. That's a little bit measly right now, and I'm not really in the mood for diseases and Nurglish problems. This dungeon will actually... Thorgrim Madax is confronted by a slumped, cowled figure crawling towards them, calling in a piteous voice. Upon reaching the warrior, he realized the offering aid was not a good idea. The figure slumps in their arms, dead, his cowl falling to one side and revealing his plague-ridden face. Boils and pustules cover the stranger's cheeks, and his eyes weep a thick yellow fluid. Your warrior's quick reflexes mean he's able to jump back immediately, avoiding any infection from the fallen fighter. The warriors leave the festering body alone. Okay, so let's keep moving. That's one of the random events I was telling you about, where occasionally random events will punish you for sitting around for too long. You should probably hustle when you're moving through this game. Now we have a junction right here, which means we may move towards a dead end and not accomplish anything. However, I'm going to give it a go. Our winds of magic are not favoring us right now, so let's move everybody right up to the edge of the transfer zone. We'll end the turn. Saccharine Whiteblood is approached by a slumped cowled figure crawling towards... Is that the same thing? Yeah, we got the same thing twice. That's actually never happened before. That's weird. The Dungeon Master's dropping the ball right now. We got 5 Night Goblins. The Night Goblins will either have spears or... Oh, they have spears. Okay. I thought sometimes they had bows or something. I don't know. I'm going to try and move him into this room right here. And I will try and deal with these goblins the old-fashioned way, with Elvish Fury. Warhammer, by the way, is one of the few lores where I actually like elves. The elves in Warhammer are actually pretty awesome. They're badass. By comparison, they are pretty legit. They're still assholes, like most elves are assholes in most universes that think they're better than everybody else, but at least the elves in Warhammer actually are better than everybody else, so they can at least back up their claims. Whereas in things like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, you're immortal, you still die well enough, you get hit in the face with an arrow, you pointy-eared bastard. Anyways, that spear looks very, very tetanus-ridden. Oh, good, he missed. I love not being hit with that. Oh, man, we got 3 points of tetanus inflicted to our stomach. My jaw feels stiff already. Alright, we got a miss right there. However, oh, he failed his berserk roll. However, he didn't get the bad berserk roll, so that's good. Considering his wounds, I think I'll try and heal him with a healing mist real fast. 1 wound again. We've been getting bad rolls. There's an attack right there, which is proc a death blow, which is nice. Let's see if we can get our friend Shannara an attack right here. Nothing. Shannara can actually move up to there, though, which means this right here is the reason why Shannara is good, because he can fire, and then he can move, which means he can actually make use of all of his abilities every single turn, which is pretty sweet. Go for an attack right there. Your facing doesn't matter in this game. It's just kind of, it is what it is. We got a short bow, which gives an increased chance to hit in exchange for less damage dealt. So it can be used by the Marauder, the Waywatcher, and the Shadow. The person we're going to put it on, though, is our Marauder, because he lacks a ranged attack right now. So what I would do with him is I would actually take the Band-Aids off. Since we have somebody who's capable of healing, taking the Band-Aids off probably a pretty good idea. Then what I can do over here is, who can use that bread right there? Only dwarves? Okay, so we'll give him a healing potion, which he can pour on somebody if we need to. The death in this game is a little bit brutal. So what'll basically happen? What'll happen... He started with the Axe of Morgrim? Really? No, that can't be right. Usually he starts with just a double-bladed axe. Interesting. Well, he started with basically the baby version of Gotrek's axe, so that's pretty cool. I'll give him that right there, and we'll give him the way bread, or the stone bread. There we go. So he's now got a hand grenade, he's got some stone bread. Who doesn't like explosives to go with their dinner? Everybody loves explosives, right? He starts with an elven bow, which is a little bit better, and an elven sword. But anyways, as I was saying... We want him to have a ranged attack, so now he can attack twice in a turn. He can use his ranged attack, and then he can back it up by using his melee attack afterwards. Now, we will have to put him into melee every single time in order to make it work. Let me get a heal off right here. Another 1 wound. We've been having really, really bad luck with those healing rolls, considering it can be 1 to 5, as I recall. Is it 1 to 5 or is it 1 to 6? You can see what an ability does by mousing over it and holding down your click. Heals for 1 to 6, so the fact that we've been getting so many 1s in a row is actually very, very bad luck. But sometimes the RNGesus is just not with you. No matter how much you pray, no matter how much you fiddle with that RNGesus rosary, it just doesn't come your way. He's got 3 magic right there. We're going to move, I guess, for the next room. We've got wounded people, but they're not wounded enough to justify standing around. We'll go for 1 more turn right here and hope that we don't get an event. He got Winds of Magic 6. I'm going to use Healing Magic on himself. There it is. So he's now back up at 100%. That's another reason why mages are so good, is because they can cast, and then they can move, and then they can attack just as a baseline ability. So they basically have more actions than just about everybody else to make up for the fact that their actions tend to be not as good. Because we got 6 magic right there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use his Grey College hat. And we're going to store that for later. Okay. And so, oh, the Grey College hat actually... gives him mana. Okay, so it works a little bit different. So I thought it worked like the chalice. There's a chalice you can get that fills up with your mana, and then on a later turn you can use the item to get that mana back. His hat gives you plus magic. So that's actually, it works a little bit different than I thought it did. It's weird because both the chalice and the hat explain what they do in the exact same way, kind of, so it gets confusing. What we want to do right here is we want to move him into melee, even though it seems kind of suicidal. We want to have him fire his bow over to there. I love that he lays down his weapons before he takes his attack. That's like one of those minor little things where his weapons don't just disappear and he magically has a bow. He sits down his shield and his axe and then pulls his bow and fires. Little things like that are a big deal to me. I don't know why. I like dumb pedantic shit like that. It's just part of being Splattercat. Over here on this side, I'm going to have the Troll Slayer go after him. Got him for 9 damage, but we didn't proc a death blow. I'm going to go for a hit right here. No hit right there, so that means I'm going to move into right here, kind of going for the death blow maybe, and attempting to pin all these guys down. Unfortunately, the death blow did not come to us, so we're just going to have to like live with the fact that we didn't get the death blow. I'm going to move up to here. He'll take a swipe, I guess, at that little guy so that he can share the XP, although I think you only get the XP if you get the kill. I'm not so sure, though. He took 3 damage right there with a big hit. Took 3 damage right there as well. It looks like the goblins are on their A game right now. He went berserk, which means he gets a bonus attack on this turn, but he is pinned, so he's not going to be moving around much. With a double death blow, he manages to get rid of all of his foes. Having freed himself, he's still pinned, really. Okay, so I guess that's whatever. I'm not going to worry about it. We'll go for a bow shot right there. It only does 1 damage. And on this side, let me see if I can get my archer the kill. There it is. Very, very nice. So the Grey College Hat looks like it can only be used once per dungeon, I think. Yeah, it can be used once per dungeon, so we wasted it on this go, but on the plus side, at least we know what it does now. There's a heal for 3 wounds, so he's got the health back that he lost. Let's move everybody forward. Actually, I'm going to have to move you back to right there. He's still hanging out where he's at. Everybody appears to have moved their piece for right now. 6 power on that one. Good. We're actually getting lucky with these healing mists, so let's get him healed now. There we go. Let's get everybody lined up and in formation for the next turn. Any event? No event. So wins a magic 6 again. Wow. A whole lot of luck right there. Unfortunately, there's no enemies in this room for him to use it on, so I think I'll probably use it on a heal before he exasperates the remain. It'll fall off at the end of the turn, so you kind of just want to use it while you've got it. If you got it, cast it. Show your magic, strut your stuff. Alright. And he can do it twice because that extra mana he got from the hat still counts, even though it doesn't show on the meter over here. So technically he's got 5 magic right now. So we'll save that for later. We got an event for Snotlings Burst from the Darkness. So we've been punished for standing still too long, and our warrior just got mashed on. I'm sorry, our gray wizard just got had. So he's gonna kill right there. Our wizard's gonna get some on this turn. It made him angry. He was like, "How dare you strike at me, you nasty little snot-covered bastards!" All right, and so with the double death blow, we end that as a comeuppance for having to fight an extra battle. The random loot that you get at the end of each battle is re-rolled every time that you get a random battle. So technically it's a good thing and a bad thing when you get random battles. So if you get spawned on 5 turns in a row and you survive it, that means you get 5 random loot rolls. We're not doing root rolls. Root rolls are just people cheering for you, and that sucks. I don't care if I get cheered for. I want loot. I want magic with gold and edges and all kinds of good stuff. But anyways, that means you have 5 more chances at getting rare loot. So on one hand, it's actually kind of a nice thing when you get attacked a whole bunch in random events. On the other hand, it can wear you down pretty quickly too. And death in this game is no joke. Like, death in this game is problematic. So if your character gets killed, what'll happen is if he goes to 0 wounds, he'll fall down on 1 knee. And you have 1 turn for somebody to use a healing item to get him back up. However, you have to make a roll 50-50 to get him back up even so. And if you don't get him back up, he just dies anyways, even though you just used a loot item on him. I'm going to use band-aids on our berserker real fast. Oh, good. He got 4 wounds from it. That's nice. That's a plus. The Vestments of Shadow. The armor can be seen lying upon a raised dais just beyond the doorway, but even as your warriors contemplate advancing to grab the armor, a menacing gigantic spider emerges from behind the dais with a group of minions. The creature gives a leering smile, taunting the adventurers to enter the chamber. I'm just impressed that the spider has lips, to be honest. So what we want to do with this guy, we have a scroll that we start with called a Finger of Death scroll. And what it does is it does a shit ton of damage, 15 to 30 damage. We're going to use that to one-shot the spider if we can do it. There it is. He took 24 damage, and hopefully we'll be able to finish the spider off on this turn. Giant spiders are a big problem for you, and I'm not saying that to be punny. Like, they are a literal big problem, not just a figurative big problem. Like, there's no poetry right here in what I'm saying. They are actually, they can one-shot a person per turn. So do not risk the metagame. Just kill them outright and don't risk it. Just kill them and walk away. If you've got a Finger of Death scroll, you should absolutely be using it. If you've got fire bombs, you should totally be using that too. Anything you've got to kill a giant spider is a good plan. Alright, so he's right there. I'm gonna move the elf forward. He's got 4 magic right now, which means he could double cast some shadow daggers if he wanted to, but he's got no target. Let's just wait on this right here. I don't know who he's gonna go after, but we're at the end of the dungeon. We're at the end of the dungeon anyway, so it doesn't matter. Like, we could take a little bit of damage, we could play more riskily. Now, at the end of each turn, still, even in combat, you do have to make those event rolls. So there is the possibility at the end of every turn that we may spawn more enemies on top of ourselves. I'm going to move him to right there. I'm going to try and level the elf first, though, because he's actually the better character out of all these guys. The Shadow Warrior is a very, very good character. Do not underestimate what I'm saying. The Shadow Warrior is a fantastic combatant. There's our kills right there. We're out of this dungeon. We are finished. We get 100 gold for completing the quest, and we get the Vestments of Shadow, which leaves us with a wizard who is very, very well equipped for the early game. Additionally, we get the Waywatcher's Amulet, which is for our Wood Elf Waywatcher. He's not in our party right now, but we can sell that for a decent amount, so there you go. We've completed the Vestments of Shadow, and my name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me here at the Nerd Castle for the next episode of Warhammer Quest. Our XP allocation right there should be fairly considerable. He'll get a whole bunch, which will help bring him up to catch up with everybody else because he killed the giant spider. We're getting there with Salstrand Whiteblood, but Magnus needs a little bit of love, so hopefully we can get him some more kills in the future. My name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me here at the Nerd Castle for the next episode of Warhammer Quest. I will see you all in the next episode. Take care out there, everybody, and hi-do.